Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Great to have you in on a Friday. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Will Wilson in today, and he's decked out in New Jersey Institute of Technology gear. I kind of kid. It'll look good for a while. We'll get you updated on what Arkansas is doing to the NIT of New Jersey, or MIT. Better yet. Either way, it's a beatdown going on. Busy show, plenty of recruiting to get into today with Friday Night Lights and a host of visitors in town. We'll dive into it with Derek Peterson and Brandon Vogel from Hail Varsity. Greg Smith, kind enough to give us his take yesterday. Some thoughts on the NBA and LeBron going fishing. Bill Doleman, Pride of Fairbury, NBC Sports, will stop by to hit Husker ball and some NBA. And then this weekend's picks and a preview of some NBA and some NHL. Pride of Chicago, Danny Burke with us. Burke's best bets before we say goodbye. Numbers to dial up, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Can email Chris at HailVarsity.com. Give me a follow on Twitter at Schmidt_radio. Give Will Wilson a shout at Willie on the radios, where you follow and find him on Twitter. Will, let's dive into this with the New Jersey Institute of Technology and the Fighting Hogs of Dave Van Horn. This thing looked okay for a while. His first pitch was at 2 o'clock down at Fayetteville, and New Jersey Institute of Technology jumped out 1-0, then 2-0, and then 3. Do I hear 3? And then you blink, Arkansas gets a 2-run bomb, I think in the second or third inning, and it went out to left field. And I tell you what, you remember Haymarket when the Huskers were hosting? Remember when Miami was here for that Super Regional?
Yeah.
Just how wall-to-wall red it was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is wall-to-wall red at Baum Stadium, and you can't, move one way left, one way right, because it's so packed. And Dave Van Horn, we heard Coach Pat Casey tell us what a home field advantage Arkansas has. I mean, they're partying. They're really partying now. There's no more Jim Beam left because they're up, say it with me, 9-3.
Yikes.
9-3. That's the latest count you have as you're watching in studio.
Yeah, it just opened up in that, I think it was the 5th inning. Oh,
Fifth,
man,
yeah.
They just buried them.
It was 3-2, and then it wasn't.
Yeah.
So the only bit of news I can report that is, I guess, favorable as we look at a deep pitching weekend, Dave Van Horn had to go to Kevin Kopps to get the final out. Ooh. Bases loaded. New Jersey Institute of Technology was threatening up 3-0 earlier in the ball game, I think the third inning, and they had to go to Kopps to get out of the inning. So I give credit to Arkansas's Twitter because they've got the whole police siren, the Kopps episode thing going.
Oh, yeah.
And it just says Kopps, Kopps.
I like that.
That's not the arm that you want to go to this soon.
Nope.
As you look, how many pitchers has Arkansas used? Does that data show up?
Let me get that to you. Yeah,
right.
I'll open my app here.
They're going through arms, but they're up just shy of the extra point with a touchdown, right? So Arkansas clearly came out either A, disinterested, or B, overconfident, or maybe a combination of both. But Dave Van Horn does not jack around. He is fierce. He is competitive. And he can have a frightening moment or two, a la Carlos Perez going nuts with the baseball bat on the orange Igloo Gatorade cooler back in the day. I don't know that Van Horn went nuts on a cooler in the dugout, but he could have.
They, as far as I've seen, four pitchers, man.
Four,
and they're still in the fifth inning, surprisingly.
And they call on the player of the year in college baseball to come in and get a final out with 2 down and the bases juiced for the New Jersey Institute of Technology.
Just hit another home run. It's now 10-3.
Man, they can put up runs in a hurry and a flurry, and they have been as good as advertised when they're pushed. Right now, Jersey looks like they're headed to the losers bracket. Do not meet them tomorrow if you're Nebraska. We'll have a preview on the Big Red as they get ready for Northeastern. But pretty busy week for us at the Schmidt household. Junior's been doing basketball camp, baseball camp, and football conditioning and training. All on the same day, all week post-Monday. And I picked him up from whichever session he finished, and he's like, yeah, they timed us today, Dad, for football. I was like, oh, really? You're a Schmidt? How did that go? Well, I think they might like me at linebacker.
Oh, yeah.
Not corner, not safety. And I'm like, yeah, you know what, Junior? Why don't you just start eating like I eat and just play defensive end? You don't need to have a 5 or a sub 540 to do, not yet, to play defensive end for freshman ball. Like, yeah, I want to play linebacker, and they tell me I either need to be strong or fast or smart, and I'm pretty smart. I was like, yes, you are. I love you, boy. But we will not divulge. We will not divulge the 40 time of Junior or the 10-yard, the short distance time. No. All I can tell him is I am sorry. That's on me.
Hey, some are lucky, man.
That's on me, big time.
That's funny. Those are the worst, man. You get into summer for a few weeks, and then you got to go back and start doing athletic stuff. I remember doing that. Man, first few days, felt like I got to throw up. Not fun.
I'm proud of him, though. He stopped gaming.
Oh, wow.
I just got a email in from Coach Brett, who's transporting Junior out to baseball. The Lincoln A's are going to start a win streak in June here at about 6 tonight. And Junior fires back at me, I don't want to look like you, Dad.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe we will divulge that 40 time. Maybe we will.
Think about it.
You have kids working out, Will, for Friday Night Lights, Nebraska. Big weekend for the Huskers. And listen, there's such a value for Nebraska football when it comes to campus visits, developing relationships, and then, of course, the experience of game day. And game day's a ways away. We're under 90 days till kickoff. But that game day experience, it's its own special animal. But when it comes to campus visits, either on the university's dime or on mom and dad's, that's so key to get kids to campus multiple times. And that's, been a frustration, one of many from the COVID time, because you can't, it's virtual tour time. Yay, wonderful, sweet. But now you can get here. And Nebraska's got a slew of kids here. Richard Torres, the quarterback, that's the target. That's the guy. That's the dude that Nebraska likes for the 2022 class, 6'6" out of San Antonio. He's here. That's big news. And we'll see how things work out for him. He's slated to go check out at Kansas State, at TCU, at SMU, at University of Texas San Antonio, his hometown college. But if Nebraska wows him and he wows Nebraska, maybe he doesn't go to K-State. Maybe he doesn't look at TCU. Maybe SMU is not in the offing. The other thing to think about, though, is A.J. Bianco. He's set to come out later this month, the 18th, and I know Bianco's a kid I really like. I like the Hawaiian ties, And if you got Super Mario and Frost excited about this kid, there's probably not a wrong choice, but you're not going to get a chance to see Bianco, and he hasn't played in like 2 years because Hawaii didn't have football during COVID. Justin Williams, he is a phenomenal back. Nebraska got in early on him. Everyone else has jumped on board. And you've got West Virginia and Louisville and SC also a consideration, along with Lane Ball down at Ole Miss, Minnesota, Vandy, and NC State. Williams, one of the headliners. Landon Sampson, big-time wideout out of Southlake, Texas, 6'1", 180, another big-body wideout. Over 1,200 yards last season as a junior, 15 touchdowns. Nebraska competing against Colorado and SMU for him. And then this is a name that you need to pay attention to because of what Nebraska wants to do. And I think you'll see more of this year. That's the tight end usage. And then, of course, you got Fedoni pre-injury that was going to make some headways. You have Carney, of course, stud out of Norris. But Chase Androff is out of Lakeville South in Lakeville, Minnesota. You're more familiar with Minnesota than I am.
Lakeview, is that what it was?
Right. But that could be like anywhere in Minnesota.
It really could.
So He's 6'6", he's 230, and he's a kid that Nebraska likes. Anyone Iowa State's after, I never thought I'd say this in my life, Nebraska needs to be after. So Iowa State's in there, Sparty's in there, as well as Central Florida and Kansas State. So with the offensive line, two other names, Ashton Craig and Valen Erickson. He's out of Chicago. You have Craig out of Indiana. And then these are two names that Nebraska's got to work on because of who else is after. Nico Davalier, he's out of Arkansas. Arkansas, really intrigued by him. That's the home state school Nebraska's got to beat. Ranked number 7 in the state, 6'2", 265. They like to put a few more LBs on him, let him do his thing in the middle, I think. And then Jalen Marshall is out of Overland Park, Kansas. Family connection to Oklahoma State. He'll get a look at Oklahoma as well, and Georgia and Mississippi State. The Pirates recruiting him. So Marshall is a kid within that 500-mile radius, but Nebraska is going to have to battle Arizona State, and Oregon also there. So those are some of your headliners, a full list, hailvarsity.com. But we'll see where Nebraska can go, what Nebraska can do with Friday Night Lights, get some up-close and personal time with the kids. Back to baseball. Arkansas now up 10-3. Correct? They hit another bomb, or was that a shot with runners on?
10-3 last time I checked. Let me refresh this thing. Yeah, 10-3. They are now in the top of the 6th.
Okay, so it is. Well, it's Boss Hog time. Start partying in Fayetteville. Nebraska baseball has done kind of the remarkable, done the incredible in such a short amount of time, and it's going to be real key for Nebraska to be able to weather some storms. I'm not worried about them tonight. I'm not worried about Povich on the hill. I'm not worried about Nebraska's hitting against, dare I say it, and I'm going to jinx all of this, but the number 2 pitcher for Northeastern. Okay, I'm not. I think Nebraska will come locked in, come focused. I think they'll have that PO'd attitude because, A, they're a 2 seed, they're not hosting, and then the disrespect shown where they got sent. Out of their control, but you can sure use that as fuel. I think they will. But when it comes to what we all want to see, and that's tomorrow at 7, Nebraska, Arkansas in the winner's bracket, how Nebraska responds to a juggernaut, to a team that's got the pressure on them. Nebraska's going to be able to play loose, going to be able to play their type of baseball and just kind of roll with it. They have their own expectations. They have their own goals, but Nebraska does not have the target on them. They're hunting, not hunted.
I was going to say, is it kind of like a, not afraid to lose standpoint, or like you nothing to lose, I mean?
Yeah, I think you can go in there with that.
Yeah.
But, again, this team's a little, sometimes when you have that nothing to lose attitude, it's because you're a fluke. and I don't think, obviously we don't think Nebraska's a fluke with baseball. But from a competition standpoint, through no fault of their own, thank you, Kevin, Nebraska really hasn't seen anybody like Arkansas. I really, and I don't know who you compare in the Big Ten to Northeastern, just from what you've seen. So Nebraska's goal is to not be Arkansas first and foremost, and that's come out flat, disinterested, or not respecting the game. Maybe and Arkansas also played with a little fire with how they came out pitching wise. I mean, they threw out two of their larger ERA arms, right? Our less than best can get this done, and if the pitching's an issue, which it has been, at least through the first 3 innings for Arkansas before their offense went nuts, they'll be okay. Nebraska will have to be great, and you'll need some help with Arkansas, and they've already gone through 4 pitchers. Maybe that takes a toll if you get them again on a Sunday, if you see them on Saturday. But I think Nebraska's mentality is a decided advantage this weekend, and they're absolutely hungry. Arkansas for sure is, because they want to go get DVH that first national championship. They've had some great teams. This may be their best. More football thoughts. We'll get into some LeBron bashing. Not that we're on that wagon, but most of Twitter is.
And we're back
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio listen?
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Great to have you back. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Will Wilson is in as Elijah Herbal, bless his soul, he's going to a wedding and a reception, and he's going to a reception with no booze. That's friendship, man.
It's an easy fix, right? It's an easy fix. You know, my brother's getting married in a few weeks. That was almost going to happen.
How'd that? Tell me about that. Well, let's get Derek Peterson in here.
Yeah.
HailVarsity.com and magazine. Phenomenal work with all things Nebraska. Dr. PDHV on Twitter. Derek, have you been to a wedding that did not have any booze at the reception? Ever?
Yes, I think. But
I mean, you're going to
I might
wish
not have been old enough to drink at the time.
Okay.
So it might not have mattered.
Right.
Since I've come of age, I don't think I've been to a wedding that didn't have alcohol.
You kind of got to, don't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. You know, a wedding serves 2 functions: the actual ceremony to wed the 2 people together, and then the reception is for drunk dancing and drunk people making fools of themselves. It's very in terms of function. That one's very close to being the primary function of a wedding.
It is. I mean, you get your phone ready, you roll, and it's blackmail.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
So okay,
You're a little nefarious there.
Well, let's just call it like it is. My father-in-law still wants to find a padded room with no cameras to take my brother into, because it was an open, all-expense-paid bar, and my brother did every effort to try and make sure there was no captain left.
That's great. I mean, you know, an open bar.
That's right.
Can't blame him.
Alcohol helping dudes dance since the 1700s, right? So, got to get your take here on this weekend for Nebraska football. And I know with Nebraska, what in your mind is Nebraska's kind of blueprint and then strength, in your opinion, when it comes to in-person and on-campus visits and execution from a staff standpoint? What do they just excel at based on what you've seen here covering Nebraska and some of the kids they've been able to get signatures from?
I mean, they're really good at presenting themselves once people get here. They're good, you know, at putting their best foot forward. Zach Duval is a big piece of that. Lots of guys have said that his presentation when they go through kind of that portion of it, sort of the strength and conditioning portion with Duval and with Dave Ellis. That one is something that a lot of parents as well. So, the kid and families extended come away from that being really, really impressed by what Nebraska has to offer from that standpoint. And Duval's work at this point really kind of speaks for itself. Nebraska hasn't had the record that people want, but Duval, just in terms of what he has been asked to do, has done a really good job so far. It's been reported, it's been talked about at this point. He opens up that presentation with a talk about Khalil Mack, who he was with.
It's a good start.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you look at, what Khalil looked like before college, and then show what he looks like now. And it's like, this is what strength and conditioning done the right way can do for you. And so here at Nebraska, this is what Husker Power, the combination of Zach Duval and Dave Ellis, this is what we can do for your kids. And that can be, that can be a pretty good sales pitch. And then, Nebraska doesn't have the greatest facilities in the country. They're certainly building towards that. It's not really something that you can kind of show it off, but not a ton right now. They're absolutely, though, using that in recruiting. And they'd be kind of foolish not to. But, I think, too, like, their coaching staff, when you get into talking to individual assistants, I really like the staff that Frost has, and I've liked it from the time that they got here. And, with the exception of a few pieces here and there, they've really done a nice job so far in terms of recruiting talent to the university and then developing some of the talent that they got, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. They've got success stories that they can pitch and sell. And, they've got just a way of showing guys like, hey, this is what we can do for you from an individual development standpoint. And then you go, put that kid with a guy showing him around campus that's maybe Cam Taylor-Britt, and, you've got a good visit.
Spend a little bit of time without giving too much away. Can't wait for the Hail Varsity yearbook. Great cover shot of Ben Stilley. And Derek, you've been a part of some phenomenal features, and your focus for this yearbook was Cam Taylor-Britt, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
And, well, just kind of give me a little tease on just what you wanted to do and what you think you knocked out.
Well, pie in the sky, I wanted to go golfing with Cam, or like go
Is he
to
a big
putt-putt
golfer?
place, or like soccer. Well, see, so everybody saw the Through Our Eyes piece that Nebraska did with Cam, with a focus on Cam. That series has been awesome. That episode in particular, looking at Cam, was really awesome. He's, he had that comment where he was like, lacrosse, badminton, tennis, whatever, you name it, we'll do it. And I was like, well, that's just what this guy is, and that is what he has always been. He's the guy that ask him to do something, and he's going to not only be like, okay, sure, but he's going to try to be the best at that thing. And so the story is really just a look at him as he's going into what will be his final year at Nebraska. He's probably one of, if not their best pro prospect at the end of this upcoming season. And the dude is competitive as hell, man. I mean, he's, there are stories in there of him, competing with siblings to see who can finish their bowl of cereal faster. There are stories in there of him him thinking that he could be a drum major in the band, perform at halftime, and then go back into the locker room and get ready to come back out and play the second half.
That would only add to the venom of what are the adjustments going to happen, if you're letting your top guy out there be the drum major.
Well, he wanted to do that in high school, and they told him no. They told him it wasn't a possibility in high school. But his favorite movie, I was told, is Drumline.
Gotcha.
It's a fantastic movie. just a lot of stories of Cam. He's just he's got a bright aura around him. He's a really easy guy to talk to. He's a really easy guy to root for. He's a guy that, just everybody that comes into contact with loves on him, and he sort of returns that. But then you get him in between the lines on a football field, and like his favorite move when he was growing up playing Pee Wee football was the stiff arm, and he played running back because he wanted to run people over and stiff arm people into the dirt. And his dad said it was a little Derrick Henry light when he was little, and he would watch videos on YouTube, and he was like, "Yep, this is what I'm going to pull in the game." And then he told me that guys would try to get to the end zone. No, I would look for somebody to run over, and then I would go score a touchdown. And that's a good way to describe Cam. So there's just a lot of stories in there about him being uber competitive, him being a people pleaser, him being just a really good kid, a really good ambassador for Nebraska, but competitive as hell. Him and I are gonna go against each other in 2K one of these days whenever I get some free time.
That's what I'm saying here, and let's lay this out so we get the Derek Peterson tour with Cam Taylor-Britt. I'm thinking there's, I don't want to speak for you, but I would shy away, or maybe you're good with it. Would you do one-on-one with Cam, or would you do a game of horse?
In like real life basketball?
As in normal real basketball.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll do one-on-one.
Okay, so
I will.
You do basketball, then you do 2K, and then I think you got to get a game of Madden in, and round it out with some ping pong.
I'll line up on a football field across from him and let him tackle me if it's for content. I'll do whatever in the name of content.
We should pull the old Johnny Knoxville jackass moment where Dr. Petey's there to return a punt against special teams.
When we were,
and if you score a touchdown, this place will burn.
When I was in school, my paper wanted to get permission or get approval to go through a summer workout practice. And that was shut down very quickly because they didn't want to deal with the liability problems that would come with us potentially getting our heads knocked off. So I imagine Nebraska would be the same. But Cam wants to kick it off to me and then come try to tackle me. It won't be very hard for him to try to tackle me, but I'll play along. Oh,
you're going to just find a way to make a move, get down the sideline, and then do the old Heisman in the end zone.
I'll stiff arm him on the way down there.
That would be wonderful. Dr. Petey, about a minute left. Do you got a prediction here out in the East here as things have moved forward in the NBA?
Philly looks really good, but Joel Embiid is questionable. Mm-hmm. His health, and Ben Simmons was tough down the stretch of the season. Milwaukee looked really, really good, but I don't know how much of that was them looking really good or the Heat looking not as good as they did a year ago. Brooklyn, we'll see. Milwaukee will be a good test for them. The winner of the Milwaukee-Brooklyn series coming out of the East, just like I still believe that whoever won the Lakers-Suns series was going to come out of the West, and that happened to be the Suns, so they're my pick in the West.
How's the office hijinks been with poor Greg and between you and Jacob and L.A. being ousted?
Jacob has been gracious.
I know that's how it sounded. I'm kind of shocked at both of you because as much garbage as we give you about OKC, I'd be handing it back out if I was you.
Well, I think it's because it wasn't. I don't mean this as trash talk. It wasn't a competitive series after the first 2 games.
You're right.
It wasn't. I was watching LeBron James last night. I was like, this dude gave up.
Yeah.
And that's a whole separate
we're
issue
getting there next.
That, spend a bunch of time on. But you can't really trash talk when both parties know, you were the better team.
Derek, we'll check in next week. Thanks for the time today, bud.
Appreciate you, man.
At HailVarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for hanging out. Bill Doleman's 25 minutes away. Brandon Vogel, Danny Burke, Burke's Best Bets in Hour 2. Good stuff from Derek Peterson. Chris Schmidt, Will Wilson with you. Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. So NBA, and I talk more NBA once we get to June. We've hit a lot of Husker football, Friday Night Lights, more thoughts, more reaction tomorrow after it happens, 6 to 8 tonight. Husker baseball gets rocking at 7. Arkansas up 10 to 3. And they are putting the sleeper hold as we speak on the New Jersey Institute of Technology. But it did take Arkansas 4 pitchers, including Cops coming in for 1 out. So there is that with the Arkansas pitching staff. So LeBron is a guy that has delivered every inch of the hype since being 17, since being on the cover of Sports Illustrated, since signing with Adidas and then doing his Nike tour and going to Cleveland and delivering a title in Miami, taking some horrid Cleveland teams to the finals and getting ousted. He's 37, 38 years of age, going on 50. Just look at him. He looks like a president after 8 years in office, the before and after picture. Some jobs just age you. He is aging. He is still incredible. He's still averaging a lot of points. His effort has been questioned. They have been ousted. And Phoenix is for real. Booker's incredible. He's been a steal. He kind of dropped in the draft because of back issues out of Missouri. Well, Phoenix is, they're great, right? Phoenix is, and you haven't been able to see that since Barkley and Thunder Dan Marley, right? I mean, we're talking 25 plus years. So LeBron's now 14-1 in opening round games. You go get AD, and he's dinged. His groin's a mess, and he can't get it done. LeBron last night, after getting eliminated, not long after he gifted his jersey to Booker, which was cool. But the look on LeBron's face, just his body language, he knew he was defeated. And out of your champions, you don't want to see that type of body language. And some will say effort. But quite frankly, he had one leg and one arm tied behind his back this series, especially with a dinged up AD. Here is LeBron last night.
Well, if you just, I think I always think about just from the moment we entered the bubble to now today, it's been draining. Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally draining. Did not stop, me from, committing to the game, committing to my teammates, committing to the work, putting in the work, mentally trying to stay as sharp as I possibly could. But, throughout it, it's been mentally draining, and like you said, dealing with, every team has to deal with it, obviously. But with us in Miami, obviously, going, the long haul in the bubble and then coming right back on a short notice, to the season, it's been, very draining. So, like I said, I commend my teammates, commend the coaching staff and his organization, just being ready to go when the time was called and, giving everything we had up until this moment. But made a better man win. And the Suns was a better man throughout this year.
So, gracious in defeat. I have no doubt he's committed to win. He wants that legacy to continue, the legend to grow. And when he doesn't deliver, it's news and the arrows fly. And I'm not in the shut up and dribble camp. I've never been that with a pro athlete when they want to speak their mind on things. You don't have to agree with them. It may turn some older NBA fans off. Guys I know that love basketball won't watch or don't watch because they're annoyed for whatever reason. I know that there's just a ton of people who get into it. And it's that or baseball right now. And it is phenomenal athleticism and work, high flying, 3-point shooting, giants that roam the earth that can hit from distance. Now, I don't doubt that LeBron is committed to his team, to his league. I question whether his teammates are as committed as him. And you've got an age gap. You do. And even Anthony Davis. Let's talk about AD here. What's he doing in the offseason? What's he doing during the season? That's been a question mark. That's been a topic. Why are you hurt? And if I'm LeBron James and they got to figure out what they want to do with their roster, I sit his ass down and I talk to him like, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? You're rich. You're famous. You're talented. You've won in college. Takes a little more. Takes a little more in the NBA to get out of round one alive. Well, let's hear from Shaq. Laker great and Hall of Famer. Love watching him and Chuck and Ernie and the crew kind of chop it up, and Shaq threw 2 hand grenades.
As a former Laker, I have G14 classification to say what I'm about to say. They play soft, they play with no heart, play with no pride, and they play with no sense of urgency. LeBron had 24 points. One starter had 7, one had 4, then you got 2 starters that had 0. When one guy goes down, next man got to step up. Every team has that guy, Draymond and Chuck, that I wish I had more shots. I wish I had more opportunity. You got to step up. Not only that, they're giving that money away now. This is your chance to make a name for yourself. You know, Kyle Kuzma, like we've been waiting for Kyle Kuzma to be that guy. I need a 30 piece from Kyle Kuzma. AD's out. Somebody got to step up. You know, Bron, Mr. Big Shoulders, you know, he didn't play great, and I'm sure he's going to come back and play great. But you know, when it comes to the Lakers and, you know, the great championship team, they play with pride. You know, we always ain't have all our players healthy, but we still play with pride. The stars play well. Stars play when they were hurt, and the others stepped up.
That was a couple of nights ago when I got down to it. Headlock time for Phoenix up 3-1. Fast forward to last night. I mean, Anthony Davis gave you 5 minutes, and it was time to stick somebody's whole arm into the Amazon River where the piranhas attacked. It's exactly what Phoenix did. Charles Barkley gets all over Anthony Davis with just that question out there. I mean, street clothes is the nickname he gave him. Here's the take from Chuck.
But I can't believe the doctors put him out there. He should not even try. Ernie, me and Kenny watching this. Let's watch Anthony Davis. You saw right from jump ball. I don't even know. They saw something in warm-up to make him think he could play. But listen, he's a terrific kid. He's a hell of a player. But there's no way he should have been out there. But I will say this. They're going to have to sit him down this summer and say, yo, man, is something going on with your training? Because, you know, Ernie, and Shaq and Kenny know this, you should never be hurt early in your career. Like I always told people, from 22 to 32, you're Superman. And then, obviously, age and all the games take their toll. For him to always be hurt, he's doing something wrong. And at this stage of LeBron's career, Anthony Davis is going to have to be the best player on that team if they're ever going to be good again. LeBron, at some point, and age is starting to catch up with him, too. There's no that he's going to just keep playing great for eternity. It's not going to happen. But at this stage of Anthony Davis' career, he should be the best player on that team. So they're going to have to sit him down and say, yo, man, what are you doing not getting yourself? Because you should not be hurt because he's still a young kid, really. So he should be bulletproof at his age.
Phoenix is 18-35 from 3 if you need it.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour, it's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Will Wilson. And we will check in with the Pride of Fairbury. Bill Doleman here 10 minutes away. Coming up, Brandon Vogel, HailVarsity.com and magazine. And Danny Burke, Pride of Chicago. Burke's Best Bets. So, Will, you jump in here. Are you as, gun-ho, dedicated to the NBA? Is that your thing?
You know, yeah, I like
love hoops. I mean, you love playing pickup ball.
Here's the thing. I'm a Timberwolves fan, okay? And
dude,
things are just not good.
No.
I have a feeling we're probably going to lose the team at some point.
Where would they move to?
Seattle, probably, right?
That'd be great.
Or Vegas, one of those two.
Yeah, I think you got to look at Vegas, and then Seattle's still a little ticked off. Might I say?
I'd say so. That's probably what's going to happen. But I follow hoops, and LeBron.
Does he wear you out, or are you sick of everyone piling on the guy?
Well,
Because people have, gotten paid $6 million a year and work for Fox Sports, piling on LeBron with stupid takes every morning.
I know, and he's the easiest target out there, right? I mean, no, and I agree with you what you said earlier. The shut up and dribble thing. Go ahead and do your thing, LeBron. I'm just concerned, man. I agree. I think this is the decline of the king we are witnessing right now.
I don't think so. I think his supporting cast, an injured AD, but. I mean, my goodness. Okay, let's just go through great Laker teams.
Okay.
Right? Shaq, Kobe, enough said.
Amazing.
Okay, Kareem, Worthy, Magic. Okay, Anthony Davis, 5 minutes. LeBron, Marc Gasol, Schroeder, Caldwell Pope. You got one of the Morris twins, gave you 16 minutes and 2 points. Dudley. McKinney, Kuzma played 18 minutes, gave you 2 bleeping points.
It's bad.
Matthews, 12 points off the bench in 26 minutes, but was 4 for 12. Anytime Harold gets on the court, he's minus 16, was last night.
Man, that card should have been declined when they went for that deal.
Schroeder, minus 9. Davis, minus 7 in 5 minutes.
Oh, my God.
LeBron was minus 3, 29 points, but LeBron was 11 for 26. Okay. 26 shots to get 29 points.
Yeah.
Why doesn't somebody break Dame out of jail and put him on the Lakers?
Wait for it.
Seriously.
Wait for it. I could see that happening, Schmitty.
That would be great. Mm-hmm. You get a healthy Davis, because he's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, Chris Paul, that guy's always been dinged. He was 4 for 12 last night, but scored 12 points, and had 12 assists. 12 assists, one turnover. But just the overall body language and the screw it type kind of aura that came off of L.A., that's what's wearing people out that are Laker fans. And it's what's adding fuel and ammo to folks that hate on LeBron.
I just feel like, the LeBron that I'm used to watching probably would have won that game.
By himself.
Yes.
Everyone get on my back like I'm a Sherpa, and let's go to the mountaintop.
That's what he did. And
well,
I just don't think...
but it's what he did, and he did it forever, and it still wasn't good enough all those years. People piled on him for not being clutch in Cleveland. He had a bunch of hacks, and he had JR. Couldn't pass a drug test in the 60s.
And Kevin Love, who was asleep.
Yeah, at least he worked the baby fat off. Bill Doleman's on the way. Hour 2 at Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Thanks for hanging out. Hour 2, Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt. Will Wilson is in, rocking his Minnesota Vikings gear. And I need to send this picture of your Big 8 hat to Bill Doleman, the pride of Fairbury, NBC Sports. There wasn't a Big 8 tournament Bill Doleman did not do games for. Billy D, Will Wilson's got on one of these old school Big 8 hats. It's got the green Big 8 in the middle. It's got all the 8 around the logo, and it's kind of got a Masters green build. Do you remember that piece of memorabilia from back in the day down at Kemper?
I probably wore the shirt to the store the other day. I mean, I don't wear anything unless it's given me for free.
He's wearing a hat.
Well, I'm still rocking whatever gear was free to me at this stage. I mean, after the last year and a half, if I wear jeans, it's dressed up. So whatever free logoed shirt I got from somebody, I'm sure it's in my closet or in the laundry.
Do you have any of that 90s gear from the original Nebraska Adidas, like sweatsuit?
Oh,
like
absolutely.
Warm-up suit and a winter coat. T.O. would go to the gym and the workout facility, and there's a few trench coats, there's a few like Patagonia zip-ups, and then all by itself is that sweet zip-up Adidas bomber circa 95, and you know who's killing it on the squat machine.
Oh, brother, I'm telling you, I got stuff from back in the day that this big old parka that had Nebraska down the front of its the zipper, and that's one of the best winter coats that I have ever had, and is still quite useful 25 years later. I still rock that stuff without question. I like I'm going to pay for something? Come on.
Do you have Apex gear?
I don't think I have any Apex gear. I was looking for some Converse All-Stars.
Those big old high top boots.
Yeah, I used to have. I think I used to have Charles Fryer's old AstroTurf Converse shoes that I used to play softball back in the day.
Nice pull with Charles Fryer.
Yeah,
Big A.
Yeah, I was going to say it might be Guy Rozier, but I think Guy was number 4. But
Guy would have charged you. Guy would have charged you for him.
Well, I got all that stuff. There's no question. Why would you get rid of old Husker gear from back in the day?
Well, I had this talk earlier this week, and my lovely wife got rid of some of my national championship gear that I purchased while telling Corso he sucked in 95. So, yeah, it was in high school. So she threw out some stuff because they were old. Anywho, let's dive in. What's this weekend mean to you? What's it say about Nebraska baseball?
Well, I like the fact that I think they've handled it reasonably well. I think there was some disappointment, and then you read some of the Twitter feed from some of the reporters in Lincoln and other observers about the Huskers took it stride, but they're not happy. Well, you really got to tamp that down a little bit and say, we deserve better. Well, you know what? You got what you got, and you're going to get a chance to play in a great ballpark. There's going to be a lot of people there. To me, it's a lot better to play, in a place like Arkansas where you're going to have a lot of people, as opposed to say, I'm watching some of these regionals right now, and again, I'm tremendously disappointed that Nebraska didn't get an opportunity. And I'm listening to Kyle Peterson talk about, getting bids and who's getting the money and whatnot. But I'm watching the regional out of Florida, and there's not that many people that are at the regional at Florida on a beautiful day. Now, maybe it's Florida, so I was going to say maybe the pandemic has an issue, but they've been open from day one. Mm-hmm. So if I'm Nebraska, I would rather be in an environment like that where the juices are flowing a little bit more, you've got the adrenaline, and that's presuming that you get ahead to Arkansas. But even if you're playing Northeastern, there's still going to be a lot of people there, I think, at the game tonight. So, appreciate the opportunity that you have, the opportunity to play in a really good environment, and then go about your business, which I think, starting Povich tonight is important, because should Nebraska beat Northeastern? Absolutely. But you got to stay in the routine that's best for him and best for your team. It also says, look, we're not overlooking our opponent to head the next day and give them something, to get fired up about, although sometimes I think that's overblown. But it also says, to Shanneman and Roach, you're our guys, okay? So Game 2's Arkansas. I think that's going to be Roach, right? Who would start Game 2 in a winner's bracket game?
I would think so, but, don't count out Schwellenbach.
Right. Well, yeah, absolutely. I get that, okay? I get that you might do something against Arkansas. I don't know if they're predominantly left-handed or right-handed inning lineup. All I'm saying is I think after the initial announcement, yeah, you're mad, and you should have been treated better by the Big Ten, or at least supported by the Big Ten. You shouldn't be the 32nd seed in this tournament by any stretch of the imagination. But here's where you're going, and we're just going to go about our business the way we have. So I think that Nebraska's done a good job after the initial announcement on Monday.
No, I don't fear or worry about the team or the coach. The fans can react and be disheartened, but Nebraska's been a chip on their shoulder squad, a la Will Bolt, all year long, and it's worked well. Now, my question to you is, you're going to get hit in the mouth either tonight or tomorrow at some point, unless you just steamroll. And it's not that I am knocking Nebraska baseball. It's just Arkansas is that good. They're that tough. You're going to get bloodied a little bit. Ask New Jersey Institute of Technology, who jumped out 3-0. It's now 10-3. Defensive touchdown, apparently. So my thought is this: Nebraska's mindset of being able to kind of minimize the damage or respond, Bill. And they can go back to how they've responded. 11 out of 13 post-Rutgers, where the moment was kind of on them. They were ranked. There was some buzz, and it wasn't a good weekend in Lincoln. But they weathered that, and then they built on it. Are they going to be able to kind of point back to that, reach back to that experience anyway, and kind of transport it to this weekend when there is adversity?
Well, I think not that it was necessarily adverse, but I think last weekend was important because you wrap up the Big Ten title at Indiana. Okay, well, there's no atmosphere there. But you wrapped up the Big Ten title. You come in, you got 3 more games that you thought you were going to have to be jacked up for, with the title going all the way down to the final day of the regular season. And in reality, you bring the trophy back with you from Bloomington, right? But they end up winning 2 out of 3. And I think that was significant, that they didn't just sit back and, we got it done. It doesn't matter what happens here. Let's get ready for the NCAA tournament. They didn't sweep Michigan, and I don't think anybody expected that. But they played well. They pitched well. They won a close game. They lost a close game. They come back and win game 3 of that series. I think there are a lot of positives to come out of the way they approach the final series of the regular season. Now, I go back to what I said earlier, and granted it was a very friendly crowd, but they're playing in an atmosphere. The place was packed last weekend. People were jazzed. They were excited, and that team performed well. They brought the performance level up to the enthusiasm of the home crowd that was expecting them to play well for them, and not sit back and, polish the trophy for 3 days. So I think there's a lot of positives that happened last weekend in the fact that they won that series against Michigan when they were already Big Ten champions. So, you take that. Now you're going into a hostile territory and, playing Arkansas where there should be a lot of people, though I'm watching the game right now, and it's 12-5. There's a few empty seats there, but I would imagine that there's going to be people who are going to show up for the game tonight at, 7 o'clock and take in the baseball. It looks like it's a great day there. So I just think there's a lot of things to be positive for Nebraska going into this first game and this first weekend of the tournament.
Bill Doleman's with us, Pride of Fairbury, NBC Sports, at Bill Doleman on Twitter, Hail Varsity Radio. Bill, going to go to football here. What's Scott Frost's pitch this weekend? Finally get to have kids on campus.
Well, I think one thing that they, I was thinking about this whole, the shutdown, the dead period. Mm-hmm. I think one thing that, and I don't know this, is just kind of a hunch that with all the time that they've had to figure out what's the best show that we can put on once we're able to unveil everything and open it back up, as opposed to going season to winter conditioning to spring ball to open things up for the summer. With everything shut down, I would think that Scott and company and all those in charge of recruiting and all of those in charge of their areas that those guys will see, that they have been able to figure out, okay, we've got some downtime. How do we tweak this? How do we put our best foot forward at the training table, at Husker Vision, at Dave Ellis's dining room table, the weight room? How do we make the show better in every way possible, as opposed to, okay, now we got to check things off once the season is done? So I would think that everything is in place to put on the best show possible for this weekend. You know how much I hate recruiting, but nevertheless, I think this is I would think Nebraska is probably pretty well prepared to open the door to whoever's going to be there this weekend, officially, unofficially, Friday night lighting. The other thing I would do is get that great big remote control, turn on the Husker Vision screens, and show the spring game crowd and say, these are the people who showed up, when allowed, on a beautiful Saturday afternoon in Lincoln. Imagine what it would be like on a great Saturday afternoon in the fall. Because I thought that was a really good show on May 1, just because the fans were there. And I think that would be something that would be a highlight for anybody who's making the trip.
You know what? The fans will be full throat tonight and loud and proud with Friday Night Lights 6 to 8. A number of high-level skill guys, a quarterback's in town. So Nebraska's been planning this, been making do with all the virtual tours, right? And so they're going to get a shot now to get some FaceTime and continue to impress. Bill, going to go talk some basketball here. Got about 3 minutes left. Coach K, why do you think he's getting out? Is it time? Is it time to travel with Mickey? Or is it, I've got no control anymore, see ya, I'm out. I'm taking my ball, Roy Williams style.
I really want to say that it's, he probably is looking at the possibilities for the future and all he's done and saying, yeah, now it's time, along with all of the other legends who have gone before me over the last 4 months, 5 years, whatever the case might be, and it's time to turn it over to the next generation. And things didn't go well last year, so maybe it's time before it gets worse for me, and I've got to continue to handle, deal with this, not just one and done, but 1 month or two and done, as we've talked about with Zion Williamson 2 years ago, that people say, you just got to shut it down. So now do you have to worry about players coming into your program in October, in November, and things aren't going well, so they're going to shut it down like some have? To me, that's mind-boggling, but he might be looking at it going, you know what, I'm 74, and it's just time for somebody else to deal with, these challenges of today's collegiate student-athlete with the NIL that Duke's got to be ready for, Nebraska already is. And then I don't want to, but look, Duke's implicated in this college basketball scandal that for somehow, some way has been able to be swept under whatever rug there is for almost 4 or 5 years now. And, Sean Miller's out at Arizona, but that took how many years? 3, 4?
3.
Okay. Kansas is still, got a dark cloud, but it's just not raining. North Carolina, Duke, there's all of these major programs that for 4 or 5 years have been implicated in, a really, really major scandal that has had no resolution and gets no traction whatsoever. And Duke is in there. And so I don't know if he's reading the tea leaves and they're saying, you know what, you might want to go. I doubt that. But I cannot believe this continues to go on and on and on. And the only thing I can think of is that the NCAA is buying time to get as much money as they can before things change really, really dramatically in the next 4 or 5 years with TV contracts and the power players that are going to make their moves in football. So I don't want to say that that's why Krzyzewski's out, and nobody would ever say that. But when is there going to be some resolution?
I have no timeline for you. 30 seconds. You're asked to be the GM of the Lakers. Aside from purchasing your yacht and saying hi to Jack, you do what for LeBron?
Oh, I don't know if you can. I think that's a bet that's made, and I'm not sure that, all the bedfellows, I think that they're in a potential world of hurt with that franchise. I wouldn't doubt if he tries to get out and I'm going to go back to Cleveland and ride off into the sunset for $200 million a year. I really don't. Father Time has clearly caught up to him. He clearly has other interests besides basketball with his media empire and his social empire. Anthony Davis has got to figure out how to stay healthy. There are no other support players around him. Kuzma didn't improve. He's not going to turn it back and be 37. He'll be 36 and then 35. He just looks like a worn down, not just basketball player. He looks like a worn down man right now. And I watched some of the game last night, and I don't watch a lot of NBA, but there were 2 possessions in the last 2-3 minutes of the game where he didn't even go down and play defense. He was complaining about not getting a foul on one, and he just didn't go down to the other end of the court for 12 to 15 seconds of a 24-second shot clock. And then he walked off the court without, giving everybody the high five and the handshake. Mm-hmm. He just looks like a man who is really, really worn down. And it's unlike what I think you saw with, other legends who were, going out the way they did. Even Michael Jordan in Washington didn't look like a beaten man. Mm-hmm. He just looked like a guy who was a little older. And, Kobe Bryant didn't look that way. So I don't think the Lakers can recover anytime soon.
Bill,
especially with the money they have tied up in those guys.
Bill, we'll get caught up next week, brother. Great to chat with you.
All right, appreciate it. Go Big Red.
Back into it at Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. I'm thinking he's got a mid-'80s Husker fitted red cap on, white N, the old John Sanders era, and it might be turned backwards already and hope for some runs tonight for Nebraska baseball. We welcome in Brandon Vogel, HailVarsity.com and magazine managing editor at Brandon L. Vogel on Twitter. Vogues, big night for the Big Red, but let's dive into this New Jersey Institute of Technology. Did you apply there?
No, I didn't. I was very far away from technology, which, much to my career earnings, I chagrin at the moment. But I like what I do, as I hope everybody knows. So I made my peace with it. But on the John Sanders note, like, I don't know. I have a baseball signed by him somewhere from the baseball camp that I went to with him in Scottsbluff, Nebraska. Ooh. But maybe I need to find that before tonight.
You know, Harris used Joe Boo on the mound before the Clu Haywood-led Yankees came in for that one-game playoff. You know, Nebraska should handle Northeastern tonight. That's the hope for Nebraska fans. But I want to spend a second just we compare a lot of programs and coaches, and it kind of crosses sports with, well, so-and-so did this in year one, or so-and-so did this in year two, or year three is the launch, right? Well, 15 games and then a second season post-COVID for Will Bolt, and he's in some great company. Does it feel, this is obviously like knee-jerk, but my take, does it feel Van Horn-esque, like something's about to pop because of just the mold that Bolt's kind of cut out of, that Dave Van Horn mold?
Yeah, I don't know if I've drawn that connection myself. It's a natural one to draw. I've more just been focused on kind of how amazing this is. Like, team building to me in any sport, no matter where you look, is the key to the whole game at the college level. And for Bolt to be able to do that through having 15 games to start a season and then nothing, and to be able to build a roster and to keep everybody bought in. Like, I mean, quick story about this Nebraska baseball team. At the point that I knew that, like, oh, there's like something really here, my dad talk about how much he loved Nebraska baseball. It was like an old school approach. They do it the right way. So for him to forward that information voluntarily told me, like, oh, there's something really going on here.
Brandon Vogel's with us on Hail Varsity Radio. Vogues, you chirped out for just a half a second, and it started with my dad. And it forwarded an email. So fill in the blank for us, because this sounds good.
Yeah. He's not a huge texter, nor the type of person who's just like, constantly volunteering information. He texted me out of the blue to say, I really love this baseball team. I mean, he's a big baseball fan. He's watched baseball for a long time. To say, I really love this baseball team. They just do it the right way. It's old school. And at that point, I was kind of like, okay. I mean, Nebraska's record was very good, and obviously I was keeping tabs on it. But at that point, I was like, oh, there's something here. And, Will Bolt and staff did a great job bringing in talent, adding to the roster that they inherited, yes. But to be able to do what they did is all about team building. And it's what I think gives Nebraska a better than you'd think shot this weekend, because when you have those bonds, you have the capability to go on a little bit of a run, even though you're at the number one seed in the country's home field.
Brendan Vogel's with us on Hail Varsity. Vogues, want to get into that team-building concept with Nebraska, specifically Friday Night Lights. Of course, Torres, the quarterback, is here. Williams, the running back, tight end out of Minnesota. A couple of interior guys on the offensive and defensive line. Nebraska's fighting for a couple of those defensive tackles, obviously, respectively. But, you know, I don't look at the build by Frost now going into year 4 as off or wrong, but you've had a lot of attrition, and I know you've kind of highlighted that, and it's something you also took another gander at here for the yearbook.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, so many of these kind of successful regimes we see across whatever sport you want to consider tend to take off pretty quickly. And some of that, I think, is, well, maybe that's just the era. Some of it is also, I think, well, coaches don't get much more time than that. So for Nebraska football to take kind of the slow build approach, one, there's not a lot of places where you get the time to do that. So, two, if you can do it, it might end up being a little bit stronger down the road. Now, that's all up in the air to be decided in fall of 2021 and beyond. So we'll see. There's just not a lot of places where you get the freedom to do that. And it's been tough for Nebraska fans. Well, it's been tough for everybody who kind of follows Nebraska football because the UCF trajectory was defined by how quick it was. I mean, that was everything. And not having that here kind of threw everybody for a loop, certainly threw me for a loop. Not that I expected, okay, well, this will just transport directly from Orlando to Lincoln, but, you know, they've maintained that kind of patient point of view, and I'm with them on that. It kind of has to show up a little bit in 2021. Getting back on the recruiting trail, it's going to get interesting because, yes, it feels a little bit like, okay, well, we're back to normal because everything opened up and recruits can visit and we can recruit again. Every coach in the country is saying that. But, like, what are the changes that we haven't seen yet from the pandemic? And I think there will be some of those, but I couldn't tell you what they were at this point.
Vogues, when we talk about recalibrating, when do you think it hit Frost that I've got to change a little bit? And I mean that with what I'm recruiting in here. A lot of the guys that have left from a size, yeah, they were fast. They were incredible athletes. But a lot of the guys who've left have not gone to other Power 5 programs. They've gone to Group of 5 schools. It's not a knock on them. That's just kind of the landing spot. Do you think it kind of hit Frost that I need bigger skill guys, specifically at wide receiver and running back? Or do you think that was after last year? Do you think it was post-2019? I kind of point back to the 2-year contract extension that Moose gave him shortly into his tenure, where maybe that's the moment where they've always been going after bigger and stronger dudes on the line of scrimmage. I don't think they've been off on that, but from a skill standpoint, you see the makeover at wide receiver from a height and size standpoint.
Yeah, I think they recognized it pretty quickly on the lines, and maybe even before they coached a game in the conference. Just from, you know, at that point where you're officially done with UCF and you're into Nebraska and you're like watching all of the game film you can watch, you probably recognize that pretty quickly because offensive line in particular, like, they've recruited to a type and they found that type, and that's what a Nebraska line looks like now. Like, good luck finding one. I mean, they're far and few between at this point that aren't 6'6" or more, it seems like. It did come along a little bit more slowly. I feel like at the skill positions, it felt a little more like, okay, well, these are the guys that work for us at UCF, and maybe even Oregon before that. And the Big Ten's just a different game, you know. who knows exactly when that changed. But for me, a real turning point, I think, for everything we've seen so far was that Minnesota game in 2019. The season was kind of still in the balance at that point. That Minnesota team ended up winning 11 games, being really good. And they were good at the point that Nebraska played them. But for a Minnesota, a team you traditionally out-recruit, a team that's, kind of classically big on the lines, but probably had, not probably, almost certainly had better skill talent than Nebraska at that point. For them to just kind of manhandle the Huskers the way they did at that game in Minneapolis, I think that, at least for me, I don't know if it's true for the coaches, but was kind of the shock and awe moment of like, okay, like this is a far different ball game than is played in a lot of other places.
Brandon Vogel is with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Brandon, when you look at this 2021 Husker roster, do you think this is the first Husker team that there's been that's really looked like a Big Ten team since the Huskers jumped ship and went over to the Big Ten? I mean, it's pretty clear the Mike Riley teams were more Pac-12 than Big Ten, but when I look back at the Bo Pelini teams, do you think he was ever able to make that switch over to a Big Ten squad?
No, I don't think he had enough time to do that. And I think they were working on it. And, that staff had recruited really well for the talent they needed in the Big 12. And that was enough for those early years in the Big 10 to be pretty good. They had some really good athletes. It's a matter of like, okay, well, it's going to be a little bit different on the line. And it might be a little bit different in the secondary in terms of what you're looking for. And linebackers, just based on kind of the Big 12's totally wide open versus the Big Ten, where you might have, 3 or 4 teams that really open it up that much. It changes what you need at linebacker, too. And Nebraska hasn't had a first-team All-Big Ten linebacker since Levante David, which tells me a lot. Levante David was a great player, but you're just looking for a little bit different kind of guy at certain spots. And it took a long time to adjust. And when you add in, Mike Riley's coming from the Pac-12, that's an adjustment. Yeah, I think this might be as close as they've been to this has been recruited specifically based on what we've seen since we're in the Big Ten. You notice it most on the lines, but this year you do have the potential, I think, to notice it at wide receiver as well, and maybe even linebacker, that position I mentioned.
Brandon Vogel's with us. Get the Hail Varsity yearbook, hailvarsity.com. Can pre-order 8553-HUSKER. Also, get the bundle, digital and print. You'll love the subscription. Vogues, we'll check in tomorrow morning for the weekend edition. Take care and put that baseball rally cap on.
Sounds good. Thank you.
He'll be back at his regularly scheduled time next week, but a special Friday Best Bets with Danny Burke, Pride of Chicago, at Danny Burke 5 on Twitter's where you find him. Rush Hour, his show. Over under, Danny Burke, on you freaking out after your second injection.
Well, here's the thing. The over-under is how many hours before I start to feel like that full of crap. The optimist in me is putting it at about 10.5, and hopefully the over hits. But, I guess I'm just going to be bedridden all day tomorrow, and, with all the sports going on, not the worst day to have that be the case.
I think just as a precaution, you need to go hit Rush Street tonight. And then if you feel bad in the morning, it's because of what you did on Rush Street.
Exactly. Yeah, you just got to put the 2 and 2 together, and you use it as an excuse. You're like, no, I'm just really hungover. That's all. So you're gonna feel like crap. You might as well go balls to the wall, right?
Danny Burke with us, Pride of Chicago, Burke's Best Bets. Danny's show, Rush Hour, on the VSiN Sports Network, multiple affiliates across the country, and on the iHeart Media app. So, Danny, before we dive into the NBA, you've got the Superbook putting out college football playoff title odds. 5-2 Ohio State, 9-2 Clemson, 9-5 Bama, 8-1 OU and Georgia, 30-1 A&M and Texas, 40-1 LSU and Notre Dame, Nebraska, Missouri, TCU, UCLA, Utah, West Virginia, 200-1. Danny, how much heat you putting on the Big Red?
Well, for me personally, and I'm sorry to disappoint the crowd, I'm going to be putting zilch, 0 on the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And it's actually interesting, Smitty. I feel like, every season that we look to tout Nebraska in their upcoming year, the sports books usually give them a lot more respect. But because honestly, first of all, it's just a national recognition, the high expectations, and because you usually get a flood of Nebraska fans going to Vegas, which, just based off of the liability type of thing and overall handle, they naturally move the line down. It's not necessarily because they think maybe that they're going to be better, but I think this year they've kind of finally realize that, okay, Nebraska probably isn't going to live up to the hype that they have every single season. And 200-1, they're going to get a lot of action on that again because you're going to get a lot of tourists from the Nebraska area and just Cornhusker fans. You're in Vegas. You want to bet on your team and long shot to 200-1. Yeah, why not throw $20, $10 on it, whatever it may be. So, I wouldn't be surprised if it moves down because of the liability aspect. But me personally, no, I'm just going to be taking them game by game. And, of course, when the regular season win totals come out, that'll be the more interesting angle to kind of handicap.
We will get into that for sure. But a flyer bet, Danny Burke says no thanks, even at 200-1 right now for a college football championship and playoff run. Danny Burke's with us. Danny, let's jump into the NBA. Any surprises here? I mean, Denver's awesome. Denver's also hampered. They outlasted Dame and Portland. And, man, I hope Dame gets some help because he's incredible to watch. But what a second round now. Denver, Phoenix. Of course, you've got Brooklyn Bucks, ATL, and Philly. And then, of course, the Lakers for the first time in LeBron's career getting ousted in round 1. What do you make of this? Kind of react to how the postseason's gone and kind of give me a precursor to this second round.
Yeah, I guess like the two biggest takeaways for me is just, you feel bad for Damian Lillard, right? I mean, it's the same story year after year, and he had that historic game in Game 5, and his teammates couldn't help him get the job done. And then you see them blow that fourth-quarter lead. I mean, look at Yusuf Nurkic. I mean, this guy I don't know what valuable minutes he provides anymore. He's just a liability out there. He can't do anything defensively against Jokic, granted. Most people can. But offensively, he's just been a turnover machine. And I saw some stat. I think they're up I don't know, whatever it was, 11 points when he was off the court. Then he came in for the whole fourth quarter, and they blew that lead and, lost by a decent amount. So I'm not pinning it all on him, but it's little things like that. He needs help with his front court. I don't know what his next move is going to be, what's going to end up happening with him. He's a loyal guy, so I probably think he ends up staying unless the Blazers just don't get him any help. And, hey, you can't waste this prime of your career if you want to win a championship. So I think he's one of the guys you can't blame if he were to move on because he's really tried everything he can to stick it out in the smaller market with the tools he's been given. So just seeing that kind of stuck out the most. And then obviously, too, I mean, the Clippers and how frustrating they've been. We'll see how they fare tonight against the Mavericks if they can keep things alive. But, look, Luka's unstoppable as well. How far can he take the Mavericks if they can keep moving on? That's going to be a big question. The Clippers, I thought, were the deepest team in the West. And if they lose tonight, Schmitty, I mean, you got to think the door's virtually wide open for not as much the Mavericks. I think so, yes, in the sense that Luka's unstoppable, like I said, but how about the Phoenix Suns? There is good value on this team all throughout this postseason, and especially the Lakers were going to be getting eliminated by them in the first round. The Suns, in my opinion, probably the top team as of this point.
Well, and that's an awesome second-round matchup for us, the fans, but not so much for the NBA because those are two teams out of the West that folks love and want to watch. They do well because of the star power. And, well, to take one away so soon is too bad. Usually that's an Eastern Conference, or I should say a conference finals matchup. Danny Burke with us. Danny, as we head to the East, what do you think of this Brooklyn Bucks showdown?
So I was kind of contemplating looking at the Nets, almost laying the $2 for them in the series. But, again, it's too steep. I don't like to lay that much by any stretch of the imagination, especially with the fact that my main concern for not wanting to bet the Nets to win the East or win the championship is, one, not good value, and two, we've seen this in the case of unfamiliarity with teams like this, such as the Clippers. Now, I'm not saying the same is going to happen, but that's a real thing, and that could happen with Brooklyn. Let's see how they fare against an actual competitive team in a 7-game series. I haven't been high in the Bucks by any means, but I think they are going to give them a run for their money. So, this one I'm going to be taking a game-by-game basis, and instead of doing the series minus $2, look, Brooklyn, I think about a 4-point favorite in Game 1.
pretty short line, and you could always attack it in-game and just do the updated series prices as well. So that's probably the way I'll look to attack it. I do think Brooklyn gets the job done. Realistically, probably happens in about 6 games, though.
Danny Burke's with us. Pride of Chicago, Burke's Best Bets. You know, there's not a lot of hope that Joel Embiid can be back to normal here, about a minute left or so. But any help from him could be a shot in the arm. Are you on Atlanta's wagon here? Can they give you some value? Can you find some props at least? Or are you staying away from anything Atlanta-Philly related?
You know, I'm biased in the sense that I took the Sixers to win the East at plus 440 about a month and a half, 2 months ago. And I still think, and this is my argument for backing them, I still think they're arguably one of the deepest teams. You know, with Embiid involved, they're the deepest team. But without him, they're still deep enough to get past the Atlanta Hawks. I really don't have any concern. Now, would it shock me if Atlanta goes out there and wins game 1 and everybody's kind of like, oh, what's going on? No, it wouldn't, because we've seen that happen before. But that'll just mean even more value with the Sixers. But they're the best defensive team in this Eastern Conference. Atlanta's very, subpar for the most part defensively. They're not terrible, but they're okay. And offensively, they did well enough to beat the Knicks. The reason the Knicks couldn't win is because Julius Randle, your best player, couldn't score. And that's not going to be the case necessarily with the Sixers that have enough lethal weapons. Tobias Harris is a great role player. Ben Simmons is just going to get you, a triple-double almost every game. And Seth Curry is the X factor that people don't talk about as much. He's going to fill in the gaps to provide more points. Not as a big man, of course, he's a guard, but he'll pick up the slack and get more looks because of the absence of Joel Embiid. And Ben Simmons will be more aggressive too. So I'm not too worried about the Sixers in its next series. It's really good to have a favorable path to kind of let Embiid rest. So I still have high hopes for Philadelphia if Embiid can take some time off and get back.
Danny Burke, Pride of Chicago. Danny, thanks for the time today.
You bet, Schmitty. Take care.